Hi, I'm Drew Dudley. I'm the founder and chief catalyst of Nuance Leadership. I've got a really cool job. I get to travel around the world and explore with people what leadership means to them, what it means to their organizations, and what it means to their communities. And it's often because people don't see volunteers sometimes as leaders. They say, well, I'm just a volunteer. And one of the things I've often told my students is that every time you use the word just to describe yourself or what you do, you're giving people permission to expect less from you. There's no such thing as just a volunteer. The great thing about volunteering is it gives you the opportunity to create these powerful moments of interpersonal impact. And I think it's in those moments that we really see true leadership. I like to tell the story of the moment that I really had my eyes open to that fact. I went to a little school on the east coast of Canada, only about 2,000 people. And on my last night there, a young woman came up to me and she said, "Drew, I remember the first time that I ever met you." And she told me a story from 4 years earlier. She said, 4 years ago, it was the night before I started university here. I'm in a hotel with my mother and my father, and for whatever reason, I was so gripped with self-doubt that I wasn't ready for this next stage in my life that I actually started to cry. And my parents hadn't seen me cry in years, but they were amazing. They said, "Look, we know you're scared. Trust us, we're way more scared than you are. But you've worked so hard for this, you owe it to yourself to try. So here's the deal. We go tomorrow to the first day. Any point during the day you honestly feel like you can't do it, we will take you home and we love you no matter what." And she goes, my whole life had been about going away to university, so I knew they were right. So we went and we got in line the next day, and it was so overwhelming, there was so much noise, that I just thought to myself, I can't do this. This is another place where only extroverted people are valued. I'm not spending 4 more years of my life in a place where you have to yell to fit in. That's not who I am. And she said, I'm standing there in line on my first day, and I quit. And as soon as I quit, I was overcome with this extraordinary feeling of peace, and I knew that I'd made the right decision. And she said, I turned to my family to say, take me home. But before I could say anything, you came out of the nearest building and you were wearing this ridiculous hat, and you had a sign that said, Shinorama, Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis. This is the charity that I've been working with for years. And she said, you started walking along this line with a bucket full of lollipops, and you're handing lollipops out to people, you're trying to make them laugh, and you're trying to convince them to do this charity first thing in the morning. And you get to me, and you look at me, and then you look at the guy next to me, and you smile, you reach in this bucket of lollipops, and you hold it out to him, and you go, dude, you have got to give a lollipop to the incredibly beautiful woman that you're standing next to in line on your first day. Like, if the universe is gonna give you a chance to be stuck next to her for an hour, you gotta talk romantic, give her this lollipop. And she said, I've never seen the guy before in my life, but I've never seen a human being get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turns beet red, he won't even look at me, he just kind of holds the lollipop off to the side and stays quiet. And I feel so bad for him because everyone's staring at this poor guy on his first day that I take the lollipop from him. And as soon as I do that, you get this really disappointed look on your face. And you turn to my parents and you say, look at your little girl. Look at your daughter. It is her first day away from home. It's her first day without mom and dad taking care of her. And already she is taking candy from a stranger. And she said, like, everybody in line just starts to laugh, like they just lose it. And she goes, I don't know why, but in that moment, like that change in tone, like something changed in my mind that I said, okay, don't quit today. Like, you can quit tomorrow, just don't do it today. And she says to me, I never did, and I graduate in a few weeks. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that happened, but I heard that you were leaving, and before that happened, I had to come and tell you, you've been an incredibly important person in my life. And I wanted to say I wish you nothing but the best, and mostly I wanted to say thank you. And she just walks off. And I'm standing there completely stunned. I don't know what to do with this story. And she turns around and she comes back and she goes, there's one more thing that you should probably know. I've been dating that guy for 4 years since you introduced us that morning in line. And a year and a half after I moved away, 1,000 miles to start my career, the two of them invited me to their wedding. She married the guy. And the big thing is this, I don't remember that. Like, I've searched my memory banks for that memory, and I don't have it in there. And it's such an eye-opener for me, and it informs so much of the work that I did to realize that maybe the biggest moment of leadership in my life, like maybe the biggest impact I ever had on another human being, a moment that had a girl walk up to a total stranger 4 years later and say, you have been an incredibly important part of my life, that's a moment that I don't even remember. And that is what I want to remind people. Like, it's in those moments that leadership is born. We spend so much time, so much money, so much stress trying to acquire things and achieve things so that other people will see us as a leader, so that we feel like we have the right to call ourselves a leader. That we forget that the biggest impact that we often have on the world, on the people around us, is in these moments of interpersonal impact every day. And the most amazing thing about taking the time to volunteer is it will give you more opportunities and put you in front of people who are looking for that type of impact in their lives. And I know that people think, I can't do it, that's not who I am. Like, it's almost frightening to believe we can have that kind of power, that we can have that kind of impact. But I think that if we get over that fear, we can move beyond it, and we could start to realize and value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and influence and prestige. I think we start to realize that it's in these moments, and it's in these moments that volunteering gives us the opportunity to do it, especially with young people, we can fundamentally change lives. I've often said that we've made leadership about changing the world. There is no world. There's just 7 billion understandings of it. And every time you change one person's understanding of the world, an understanding of what they're capable of, an understanding of how many people care about them, their understanding of how much of an impact they can have in this world